Hi guys, welcome to G Weapon Workshop. My name's Raheem, and this is Basic Techniques Nub Removal.
What do I do?
All in good time, my children. All in good time. So in this video, we're going to go over 4 basic techniques for removing nubs off parts that you just cut off your runner. Those 4 basic techniques being filing, sanding, buffing, and straight up cutting it off with an X-Acto knife. If you want to jump to any of these specific techniques, you can click any of these nice annotations right here. Now, when you're cutting your pieces off the runner, what you want to be cautious of is you don't want to damage the actual piece. When you're actually doing the act of cutting the piece off the runner, you want to be cautious of 2 things. 1, how you're cutting it, being are you going from above or are you going from below? Cutting it from below gives you the line of sight you need so you don't miscut anything. The direction that your cutting side of your nippers are on. I always have the cutting side facing away from the actual part because the fact is, as you're cutting this plastic nub, it's very easy for your nipper to slide and take a piece off the part. So I always go from underneath and with the cutting side away from the actual piece, cut. When filing, it is really important to remember 2 things. 1, just how much pressure you're actually putting onto the nub, and 2, just how much of the nub is actually remaining. When you're filing, it's very important to really just rest the file onto the nub that you want to file down and just move it forward. You don't want to pull it back because you always want to file in one direction. So you will actually pick up the file, put it back to its original starting position, and push again. You never want to put a lot of force. Even the angle of the file, if you come in wrong, will damage the part. So be careful. The next one is your sandpaper. It comes in a bunch of different grits. I usually use sandpaper to kind of finish off any fine details that may be left behind from filing. Some people do prefer to sandpaper down their nubs strictly based on the type of grit that they can get. Essentially, a lower grit number means the more coarse it is, meaning the more material you'll take off that nub. When dealing with sandpaper, you should always wet sand, meaning you should take your sandpaper and dip it in a little cup of water. Thus, you don't have any particles floating around the air that you can possibly breathe in. Be careful. Next up, we have buffer sticks. These guys do come in different grits. Very rarely have I ever found them with an actual grit number on it. Normally, you can get them in coarse, medium, and fine. It's really important to have maybe a set depending on what you want to do. So for example, I would use the coarse buffer to take out a huge chunk of the nub. And as I get closer to the actual piece, maybe hit it with a medium and then finish it off with a fine to give it that nice finish. Remember, when you're using a fine buffer tool, you want to go in little circles, not in one direction. After you feel like the part is done, make sure you take your fingernail and just feel the surface. It'll let you know if you're finished or you need to do some more buffing. These 3 techniques can really be used in unison to kind of make a hybrid version. It's very easy to do and it will turn out better. Now, the technique that I like the most is using an X-Acto knife. You have to be cautious of quite a few things when using an X-Acto knife. If you're not careful, you will cut yourself or you will damage the part. If, for example, you are too tired, do not use an X-Acto knife. You will nick yourself. Using an X-Acto knife is the quickest and easiest way to remove a nub. In my experience, it also leaves almost 0 trace as long as you do it right and you take it slow. When picking an X-Acto knife, you'll get a very standard blade where it's a straight blade with a point and it's at an angle. The blade I use is more flat right at the top where the cutting surface is actually very small. Thus, I don't, say, nick a piece of the part that I didn't mean to. So the safest way to use your X-Acto knife to remove nubs is taking your piece, putting it down onto your cutting mat, and coming from above, just lining up your X-Acto knife right up against the piece and just pushing straight down and taking off the nub, like so. The next thing you want to be sure of is any residue that's left from the nub, any material or anything, you want to carefully, with your X-Acto knife, just shave it right off. The reason I use this kind of X-Acto knife is simply because since the cutting edge is a lot smaller, I won't be damaging any of the other area of the actual part. Just shave it right off, and you can just go in there with your nail and take out any other little residue, and there you go. When you are deciding on what technique you want to use, I would really suggest trying all of them just to see which one you're most comfortable with. A lot of people make hybrids where they use, say, 2 or 3 of the techniques, so give it a shot. You never know what you're going to accomplish unless you give it 100%. Thanks for watching, folks. I really hope that helped answer any questions that you guys might have. If you like, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye-bye!